Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Coaching Corner. I am so happy to be here with you. You know, it's Tuesday. I love being here when we talk about all things special education. So, before we get started, hello, 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 and welcome to the Coaching Corner. If you are new here, I am Jamila, aka the IEP Coach. I am the founder and CEO of the IEP Coach LLC. And we are a consulting company, and we help charter schools with broken special education systems. Okay, so we help them get those systems in order so that way they can stay out of litigation. Okay, all right. So that's just a little bit about us at the IEP Coach LLC, and we go live every Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we talk about all things special education. Tonight's topic is inclusion works. Your school just isn't set up for it. All right, because listen, this has been a lot of talk in these internet streets. Okay, so I said, why not? Let's talk about it. So as you are coming in, please drop in the chat where you are tuning in from, and turn in. Share this live out with as many people as possible. I said turn in. Share out this live with as many people as possible. And as I'm telling you to share it out, I am sharing it out as well. Oh my gosh. It's another heat wave coming. It's hot. Oh my God. Oh my gosh, it's getting hot. All right. I hope you all are staying cool and you're hydrated. Because listen, you don't want to wait to till you're like thirsty. That's when it's like too late. You just consistently, drink your water. Drink your water, sip your water, mind your business. All righty. And we are going live on our Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Like, oh my God, I'm getting tongue-tied today. Tune in now. Alrighty. So let's make sure we are up on our TikTok. We're going live. Okay, make sure everyone can see me here. Okay. Alrighty. All right, so we are live, and before we go any further, I have to remind you, make sure you subscribe to our newsletter, the IEP Insider. It is a LinkedIn newsletter, and we give strategies to leaders so that they can apply that day or the very next day. Okay, it's not a bunch of just opinions or anything. No, it's actual strategies, because this is how we become better. We try. Hey, if it don't work, we try a different strategy, okay? And that's what we want the IEP Insider to be. So we drop a new edition every single Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you subscribe so you'll be the first to know when the new edition has hit. And I am dropping it in the comments right now. Dropping that in the comments. And also our SPED summer reset will be taking place in August. The July cohort has closed, so we are doing another one in August. It will be August the 24th through August the 28th. Listen, if this past year has wrecked you, it stressed you out, had you overwhelmed, had you running on fumes, the SPED Summer Reset is for you. We spend 5 days live with me, and we build the systems together. Day 1, we're focusing on your foundations and getting your organization together. Day 2, getting that system together. Day 2, IEP writing, getting your system together for that. Day 3 is IEP meetings, getting your system together for that. Day 4, progress monitoring, getting your system together for how you will be progress monitoring your students. And then day 4, it is using AI, and we got a little resource for you that we're going to give away on day 5, and it's focusing on learning how to use AI safely and ethically, especially when you are working in special education. Okay, all right, so listen, Listen, so you need to get on the wait list now. So once the doors open, you can enroll. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that in the chat. The SPED summer reset. All right. Hold on. SPED summer reset. Here we go. Share this link. Copy. All righty. I just shared it in the link. And I'm also going to pin it here on IG. I'm going to add the link here for you to join the wait list. Oops. Join the SPED summer reset wait list. Join the... Oh, you can use a certain amount of characters, not a problem. All right, it is pinned right there on IG. All righty, so let's get on into this. All right. So listen, so we did a reel, like I said, there's been a lot of talk about inclusion, if it worked, excuse me, not if it works, that it does not work. It needs to, special education needs to go back to how it used to be, separate classrooms, separate classes, etc. So that is basically, you know, that has been the gist of it. Inclusion does not work. Okay. So I said, like, let's, why not hear from someone who's actually, you know, done inclusion, you know, and I'm just going to give my experience about what it is. So, and this is all from my lived experience. I've been a special education teacher for a little over 14 years. So I have done pull out, I have done push in, I've done resource, I've done co-teaching. So I have been in inclusive classrooms where the general ed teacher and I both were teaching at the same, I mean, both were teaching students in a class, and we were in the class together because that was one of the models that we had at the school, you know. So I've seen it where it worked. I've seen it where, hey, this isn't working. And it's a reason when inclusion is not working. Okay. It doesn't mean that the idea is bad, is horrible, and it does not work. That's not what that means. That's not what that means. Okay, so we're just going to focus on what it is, and it can work, and it does work. Okay, however, you need to make sure you have everything in place for inclusion to work. So, okay, so again, it only works when it's set up correctly. All right, so as questions come to you, go ahead and drop them in the comment section. I don't want you to hold on to the question and then you forget the question. As the questions come to you, drop it in the comment section, okay? And someone on my team will make sure that I see it, all right? So like I said, last week, what was it, Friday? I think it was last Friday, we posted a reel, Thursday or Friday, we posted a reel and we talked about inclusion, how it can work, how it does work, okay? So we're just going a little deeper from that reel, okay? All right, hello everybody that's coming in. Hey. All right, so before we get started, let's just look at the definition, okay? So when it comes to special education, inclusion in special education is the practice of educating students with disabilities alongside their non-disabled peers in the general education classrooms rather than isolating them in separate spaces. Okay, so that's basically what inclusion is. So the practice of educating students with disabilities alongside their non-disabled peers in a general education classroom rather than isolating them in a separate space. Okay, that is what inclusion is. Okay, so now when you are doing inclusion, your students who have IEPs, they have certain accommodations that they need in order to access their education, in order to access the instruction, in order to in order to thrive in their educational environment. There are certain accommodations, modifications that they may require. In addition, there are supports and services that they require so that they can fully thrive and participate in the general education curriculum. Okay? Now, when people say, oh, inclusion does not work, this is basically what they're saying. And this is basically from how inclusion has been presented to them. So inclusion, a lot of times when schools say, oh, we're doing inclusion, okay, yes, you have students with IEPs in the general education classroom. And you may have a huge percentage of students with IEPs in your classroom. And you may have a huge percentage of high need students in your classroom. And they're in the classroom and there's only the gen ed teacher. Sometimes the special education teacher is able to push in there for some time of the day. You may not have an instructional assistant, no behavior support, no modified curriculum ready to go. Like it's the setup isn't there. Like the student isn't set up. The students with IEPs are not set up for success. And then if you have behaviors that can interrupt your instruction, so you're not setting up all your students for success because they don't have what they need. They don't have the instructional support services that they require. Therefore, the student struggles. The gen ed teacher struggles. The SPED teacher struggles. Okay? And then you may have some students like, hey, they're getting more attention than we are. So then when that happens, it's like, hey, inclusion does not work. But the truth is, inclusion can work. It was just your school did not build it correctly. Your school did not put the proper supports in place for it to be successful. Okay? That's not inclusion failing. It was never built properly in your school. It was never set up properly. So you can't dump a student in a classroom, put a student in a classroom without their support and call it inclusion. Because then you just have chaos and you're going to have failure. Okay? And that's what's happening. So instead of saying inclusion, oh, it don't work, is this, we need to ask the right question. Hey, is my school staffed and set up for inclusion? Okay? Is my school just calling this inclusion because it's cheaper than actually hiring the staff that we need to implement inclusion properly and have a system and have a real system in the building? Those are questions you really have to ask yourself. Is my school set up, built for inclusion? Or is my school just calling this inclusion because it's cheaper than building the actual system that we need for inclusion? Okay? Inclusion isn't a placement decision. It's an infrastructure decision. And infrastructure costs money that most schools don't want to spend. I'm just going to be honest. Okay? Inclusion is an infrastructure. And that costs money. And you have schools that don't want to spend the money for that. And that's just the honest truth. Now, in this reel was on, I think it went on our Instagram, it went on our TikTok, Facebook, and our YouTube, and we got some nice comments. Hey, some people agreed, some people disagreed, but it was one, oh my gosh, I'm so upset I didn't write her name down, but she made a great point. She said, just because something is staffed properly doesn't mean that it's successful. And I told her, you made a great point, because that is true. You can have teachers who are doing their best, like, hey, I'm going to make sure I come in at this time. You can, like, the teachers can actually collaborate well. They can meet and do all the things, and it's working for them. They're making it work. However, what I said to her was, schools then that that creates an easy way out for schools to not properly support them, though, when you're just making it work. And that's what teachers do. You tend to take more on because you want to do right by your students. There's no teacher that just says, oh, I'm not doing this, I don't want to support these students. There's no teacher that says that. And so as a teacher, you tend to take on more than you can carry, because you want to do right by the student. So and in some cases, when administrators see that, they're like, oh, she can do this, so we don't need to get all this other stuff. They're doing it. You ever hear that saying, you can do more with less? No, not in this case. Not in this case. So yes, it can work, but it's like you're putting a strain on those teachers trying to make it work without giving them the supports that they need, right? So now let's go into, hey, what inclusion looks like. Okay? So a school that has the inclusion, that implements and practices inclusion in their school, that means they're fully staffed. And I'm not talking theory, I'm talking about a place where it actually worked. Okay? So you got to make sure you have multiple special education teachers. So think about, man, what does my school have right now? Do you have enough special education teachers? Not just one teacher running around doing everything. Enough SPED teachers to instruct your caseload. Okay? So like if you're a K6 school, you may have somebody take K1, 2, or K1. Somebody do 2, 3, 4, or 2 grades 2 and 3. Like, you have enough. Okay? You got enough SPED teachers to service your caseload. The next thing, do you have enough instructional assistants or paraprofessionals? They are like the right hand of teachers, the right hand of gen ed teachers, special education teachers. If you got a gen ed teacher, special education, and an instructional assistant or paraprofessional in your room, yo, that's like three teachers in a room. You know how you can really make that work and do so much? Then, because you can use your instructional assistants in the classrooms that have the high need students, so that those teachers can still instruct and do what they need to do. Then you have to make sure, do you have related service providers to provide those supports that the students need? Do you have an occupational therapist coming to the school? Do you have a school psychologist who's available to do do all the evaluations, reevaluations, and even answer questions? Do you got a speech and language pathologist? Do you have a behavior specialist? Especially you got high needs behaviors, you should have a behavior specialist to support the teachers with the student. They can help with de-escalation. They can help with the behavior plans, implementing the behavior plans, and training the teachers on how to implement the behavior plan. And not just visiting and integrating them in the class, in the school community. Like, they're actually working with the team to support the student and working with the student. Okay? Now, when it comes to, like, you have a lot of schools that just have one model, and they use that model to address every single student with special education services. No two students require the same exact services. And it's like no one model can address all your students' needs. You need to have a mix. Okay? A school I was at, we had a mix. We had a mix. Okay? So you when it comes to inclusion, having the now when it comes to inclusion, looking at the students' needs. Like, yes, they are being instructed in the gen ed classroom with their general education peers. You can have a SPED teacher or an instructional assistant come in and work with that student, like pull a small group to the back of the classroom and work in a small group to work on those specific skills, because they still got IEP goals they have to work on. So it's not just one cookie cutter model that addresses all the needs. And then also, what I think when it comes to inclusion, it's like, oh, you have to be in there all day, in the gen ed classroom all day. And it's like, perhaps the student is okay to be in the gen ed classroom for math, but you know what, for reading, they need more small groups. They need a small group. So they may be in their gen ed classroom for math and let's say science, but when it comes to ELA, they're in a small group for ELA. Because you have to see, like, okay, where are the students need? Where are the needs? I had students who they had a learner support English class, but they were in a gen ed class for math. They were in a gen ed class for science. Social studies, they were in a co-taught class, but they were in my learner support English class because they required smaller numbers in their class, and they required more accommodations and modifications to access that instruction. All right. Now, why did this work? When you have the proper staff and you have the different models. Oh, one more thing I want to add. Schools also need to pay for training for their gen ed teachers, their special education teachers, their related service providers, training on what inclusion is, what it's not. Having common planning time so they can actually plan together, meet together, discuss students, what's working, what's not working. That is a piece that is missing from a lot of schools. They're not getting the training for these teachers in order to properly implement inclusion, on top of not having it fully staffed and not having all the necessary supports and services for the inclusion to work. Okay? So, and the reason it worked where I was, and this was just one particular school where it worked, every student got what they need. It wasn't a one size fits all for everybody. That was not the case. Okay? The gen ed teachers weren't alone. We were in those classes for those classes where the students had IEPs, teaching with the teacher. Like, we wasn't just in there standing, we were teaching with them. Okay? Instructional assistants was in the classes that had high needs, students with high needs. Like the occupational therapist, she used to, when she would finish her sessions with students, she would just walk around to the different classrooms. And she would pop in, check if the student didn't have OT in the classroom. Because one of my students, he had OT in class, so he didn't get pulled out for OT. So I was able to chat with her, and she was able to show me and tell me about different programs that I could use to help not just my special education students, but hey, when I was in when I was co-teaching with my co-teacher, I was telling her about the different programs that we can use in class. Okay, the caseloads were reasonable. SPED teachers, we weren't drowning. It was like, I'll say the support was evenly distributed. Right? And then parents, when they clearly understand what's happening, how their child's IEP is being implemented, they're not fighting for services, which happens a lot. Compliance wasn't a scramble, And this was a mindset shift. Inclusion is not about placing every kid. It's not about placing every kid in a gen ed education classroom. It's about making sure your school is designing the proper placements to service your students with IEPs. And it has the actual support that is needed for those students. Okay? Because that's what least restrictive is. That's what LRE is. Least restrictive environment. That's what that is. You're making sure the student has everything that they need in their environment to learn. So you always start with the least restrictive environment. You always start there. Can they be educated here? Can we provide the supports here? So there's no restriction regardless of wherever the student is. Okay? So when your school has real supports and multiple service models, inclusion can work. You got to have the staff, you got to have the services, and you got to give your teachers and support staff the training they need to implement it. So when teachers saying it's not working, I'm not mad at them, because hey, your school didn't set it up right. Your school didn't give you the training. You were taking on more than what you needed to. And like, because again, that is the nature of a lot of teachers. You just take on more because you want to do right by the student. But then that burns you out. And then your school looks at that, administration looks at that as like, they're making this work, so they're good. No. Okay? So listen, if you're a parent, a teacher, you're a leader, this is how you can diagnose your own school. Hey, is my school set up for inclusion? 3 questions. Okay? You can ask them yourself. If you are the school, like, you can kind of just do like an assessment for yourself. Here's question number 1. Is your school actually staffed for inclusion? Because we already talked about, hey, do you got enough SPED teachers? You know, do you have instructional assistants? Do you got your related service providers? Do you got behaviors? Is your school staffed for inclusion? Or is my school, if you're, assessing yourself? And this is how you can tell if it's not. If they got like only a few SPED teachers handling everything, if instructional assistants are like stretched thin, if they can't tell you exactly when related services are occurring and who's doing it, and there's no behavior support, okay, that's a problem there. You can see like, probably not. They're probably not set up for it. All right. Here is question 2. Question 2. Does your school have multiple service delivery models, not just one? If they say, hey, we got push-in, like, okay, what does that look like? Okay. And let's say your child, needs more. Mention that, like, well, hey, my child's IEP says they need da 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 da. How is that going to be implemented in the classroom? Okay? Because there's no one model that can address all students' needs. Everybody don't require the same thing. This is how you can tell if, hey, question number 2 is no. If everyone is in gen ed, or everyone's in self-contained, that is not inclusion, that's not LRE. Like, real inclusion, it's a menu. Like, I know, hey, my kid may need to be, they can stay in a gen ed classroom. Again, like I said, for example, math and science, but hey, for ELA and social studies, they need a small group. Okay? Question 3. Is your school calling something inclusion because it's cheaper than building the actual infrastructure for inclusion? Think about that. Is inclusion the stated philosophy? Like, are your SPED teachers being asked to co-teach and don't have no planning time with the gen ed teacher? They have no, and none of the team has planning time together at all? If you're pushing in, is it like gymnastics? I'm jumping in here for a few minutes and I'm going to jump over here for a few minutes. Was instructional assistants and paraprofessionals cut out the budget? That's how you can tell it's no. And then even if you see on a website that it talks about the inclusion, it talks about in the philosophy, visit that school. Pop up and see. Pop up and see. Okay? So stop asking whether inclusion works. Ask, hey, is your school built for it? All right? Do we got any questions? Do we have any questions? And I know it takes you a minute to type. So parents, you can ask those 3 questions. The teachers, you can actually document what's happening in your school, and you'll be able to tell. And then a school leader, audit your own school with those 3 questions and honestly answer them. Okay? Remember, your 3 questions were: is your school actually staffed for inclusion? Does your school have multiple service delivery models or just one? And 3, is your school calling something inclusion because it's cheaper than building the infrastructure for it? Okay? Just a reminder before we head on out. Make sure you subscribe to the IEP Insider. It is our LinkedIn newsletter that drops every single Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. So you want to make sure that you are subscribed, that you subscribe to that newsletter. I am going to go ahead and drop it. Oh, there it is right there. Subscribe to the IEP Insider. All right. And our SPED Summer Reset, we are doing an August cohort. It will be August the 24th through August the 28th. Make sure you join the wait list so you know first when the doors open. Oops. Okay. All right. So if you enjoyed it, hey, make sure you continue to follow us. Continue to follow us and share out this live. All right. Now, keep in mind, school leaders, if tonight made you realize your school isn't set up for inclusion and you don't know where to start, send us a message at the IEP coach so we can do a SPED diagnostic call with you. We can do a SPED systems diagnostic call with you. Okay? You can DM us at the IEP Coach LLC. You can send us an email at you can send us an email at jamila@theiepcoachllc.com. Okay? Let me make sure we don't have any questions. Okay, I don't think we have any questions. All right. So, as always, be kind to yourself. Remember, when you overexert yourself and push past your capacity, that's when you get burnt out. That's not what we want. Give yourself grace. And we will not be having a coaching corner next week because we will be out of office. All right. So we will see you all back. I believe it'll be July the 28th. Yay. We won't see you till the July 28th. But be safe. And we'll see you guys. Enjoy your summer. Stay hydrated. Peace.